Ladies and gentlemen, it is time. Today is the day that it looks like we are going to be seeing Jakub Fowler in an NHL game. Now, I'll be honest, I'm recording this video on Wednesday night. It's the 10th. This will be up later on Thursday morning. So if there is any announcement that the Montreal Canadiens will go with another goaltender today over Fowler, then I apologize. But assuming Fowler does get the nod today against Pittsburgh, it's going to be a pretty big deal, and we have some pretty reasonable info that lends itself to this being the case. Eric Engels tweeted this out earlier yesterday in the afternoon. I just landed here in Pittsburgh, where I fully expect to see Jakub Fowler make his NHL debut tomorrow versus the Penguins. Carey Price also made his NHL debut against the Penguins. Do with that information what you will. But either way, Jakub Fowler has been so good in the AHL's Laval Rocket system this year. 10-5-0 record, 3 shutouts, 15 games with a .919 save percentage and a .209 goals against average. I said it in our video 2 days ago. But if you have a streamer spot in fantasy hockey, you're not too confident in your goaltenders, you maybe, by some miracle, don't actually have any goalies playing today on Thursday the 11th, try out Jakub Fowler. Now, if he ends up absolutely crapping the bed against the Penguins, then hey, you're free to slap me if you want. But I picked him up in some of my fantasy leagues. I had some streamer spots available in fantasy, so I was like, yeah, no, I want to see what Fowler can do. Let's add him. Maybe he doesn't even stay the whole time with Montreal. Maybe he gets sent back down sooner or later, but I'd assume that his first NHL game against Pittsburgh is not going to be a total blowout negative performance. I would expect him to be okay. But with this in mind, with Jakub Fowler's mere presence on the Montreal Canadiens, it opens the door for us to start talking about the other guys that exist in this organization and whether or not there would be, could be, or should be a trade in store. The reason we are talking about Samuel Montembeault and Jakub Dobes as potential trade pieces in this video is because of a series of tweets from the game a few nights ago. Take a look at this. This is what Nick Kluche went out there and tweeted out on December 9th, 2025, heading into Montreal's game versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. Take a look at this. Nashville, New York, and Seattle goaltender scouts were at the Bell Center on that day. Calgary's chief pro scout was still there too, not to mention the Seattle Kraken's chief amateur scout. So here's the list of guys that were at the game a few nights ago. You can see there are some other names there. François Gagnon, Patrick Friolet, Francis Paquin, Eric LeBlanc, Luc Gelinas, Pierre Dorian was over there too, not to mention a whole bunch of scouts from Boston, Calgary, Detroit, Nashville, the New York Rangers, etc., etc. But this is a pretty interesting breakdown as to the kinds of scouts that were present at the game. Calgary's top pro scout was there, so if the Calgary Flames are looking for some Montreal or Tampa Bay players to make a trade for, this is the guy that would be in the seat evaluating those names. And Seattle's amateur scout, the guy that does the prospects, had happened to have been there as well. But this is the most interesting part about it. Nashville, New York, and Seattle goaltending scouts were at the Bell Center in that game. Scrolling down over here, you can see that, yep, this one has an Airbnb, that's for sure. He's always there. Nick Vitucci out of the Nashville Predators system, so kind of interesting to see there. You also had Karine Haynes, who does stuff for Montreal's page on the Hockey News, tweeting this out. Of the 4 teams with 2 scouts at the Bell Center on the game against Tampa Bay, 3 had scouts who primarily focused on goaltending. Nashville's Barron, New York's Clemenson, and Seattle's Allen. Dobes was playing his third game in 4 nights. Karine says she was intrigued. So, there you go. Are you insinuating that Jakub Dobes is being scouted for a trade? I'm not insinuating anything, as I have no inside knowledge, just pointing out that it is intriguing. What you choose to do with that information is your choice. So with this in mind, I wanted to open the floor up to y'all in the comment section of this video, with note that there happened to have been multiple goaltending scouts present in the stands of that Montreal and Tampa Bay game, which took place 2 nights ago on Tuesday. Do you think that does open the door to some sort of a move either involving a Jakub Dobes or Samuel Montembeault? Both of these guys have been pretty meh this season so far. Dobes with an .887 save percentage in 17 games, Monty with an .857 in 15 games, so both of these players have not really shown off all too well in the National Hockey League level this season, and I'm just getting kind of excited because I aligned the pages properly. I can switch back and forth and it doesn't look drastically different, but either way, Montembeault has not been good this year. I'd say that he's been probably one of the worst goaltenders, starting goaltenders especially, in the National Hockey League this season. In fact, I just wanted to go out there and check that out. So Montembeault has 15 games played, .857 save percentage. If we go over here and we sort by worst, okay, so the only goaltender worse than Montembeault who has had 10 or more games has been Cal Pickard out of the Edmonton Oilers system. So that's really not a good name to be listed alongside of. There are some others over here. Buteyets out of Anaheim, Yuri Patera in Vancouver, Caden Primo. Welcome back to the list, buddy. But yeah, no, Samuel Montembeault is one of the worst goalies in the league this year. So I do kind of question whether or not it would be possible that a team is scouting him because they want him to be traded to their squad. But Jakub Dobes going out there with a really big sample of games lately, and the fact that he is 24 years old, it does get me intrigued as to whether or not these teams, the Rangers, the Seattle Kraken, or the Nashville Predators, could be interested in some sort of a Dobes acquisition. Now, you could also open the floor and say, hey, wait a minute, that event that they were watching was a hockey game between Montreal and Tampa. You could very well easily say that these scouts may have been watching Tampa's goaltender, Jonas Johansson, going out there and stepping up in the presence of Andrei Vasilevsky. By all accounts, I'd say that Johansson had a much better game than Dobes did on Tuesday night. But either way, it does open the floor as to potential goaltender trades, depending on the way you choose to view it. Do you think scouts from Nashville, the Rangers, or the Kraken are going out there and targeting any of these Canadiens guys? Or did they really just want to take a look at what Jonas Johansson was doing for the Tampa Bay Lightning? I'd say, for Tampa, you kinda can't trade Johansson at this point. Vasilevsky is still out, you need to rely on that dude. Meanwhile, for Montreal, you just called up Jacob Fowler. Depending on how well he does against Pittsburgh later today, there will most likely be some competition amongst these three, and only 2 are going to be able to hold on to actual starter and backup positions. Unless, of course, the Canadiens want to go the way they did a few years ago with a triple goalie rotation, which I don't really think is the move anymore. Either way, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think there could be some sort of a goaltending trade on the horizon for Montreal involving either Nashville, the Rangers, or Seattle? Do you think Montembeault or Dobes will get moved first, if any of them get moved at all? Let me know in the comment section all your opinions about this trade idea, and how do you think Jacob Fowler is going to perform? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.